is a pretty classic example of peak AI Donald Trump slop. It's no less historically inaccurate an image of Jesus than the one we've been used to seeing for the last 150 years.
Because the Pope didn't say anything too crazy. He just said, peace is good, which feels quite on brand for a Pope.
Donald Trump is the one person who made the decision to go to war with Iran, and now here we are living through it.
He's human COVID.
Yes, he's fucking wrecking ball through the global economy.
It's insane. Giving the keys to our health system to Palantir.
Do you think someone from Saturday Night Live is listening to our podcast?
They don't have time to listen to us gassing onto Grandad about comedy.
Okay.
I'm Nish Kumar.
And I'm Coco Khan. Welcome to PodSave the UK.
Now, people watching will be aware of this, but Coco and I are not in the same room currently.
What's the mood like over there then?
The mood...
I feel like I ask you this every time, because every year you go over to the States and I always ask you the same question. And I feel like I know what the answer is going to be, which is like generally quite terrified, but otherwise a good time.
The comedy shows have been a great time. I love seeing my friends and my family that live out here. Everybody is sad and stressed, understandably, right now. I mean, yeah, it's a tricky time.
Normally, when Donald Trump messes up, he refuses to admit it and he doubles down, whether it's bombing Iran, insulting people, or pretty much anything else. He's not one to admit he's got it wrong. But thanks to Jesus Christ, he has backed down over a Truth Social post.
And to be clear, he has not apologized. I don't even believe the man's face is capable of making the shapes that would require him to make in order to say the word sorry. But he has deleted this image. And I mean, the image in question, I'm sure you will all have seen it, is a pretty classic example of the sort of peak AI Donald Trump slop. So for listeners, it's an AI-generated image with Trump dressed in what looks like Jesus-type robes, laying his hand on a man in a bed and presumably healing him. He's surrounded by four people who look sort of like the apostles. There's a nurse, a soldier. There's some sort of shadowy, mythical figures in the background. One of them weirdly looks like sadly departed director of Spinal Tap, Rob Reiner, after whose death Donald Trump disgraced himself once again on social media by criticizing him. Yeah, it's absolute chaos. I mean, I will say, it's no less historically inaccurate an image of Jesus than the one we've been used to seeing for the last 150 years. I say this as a man who, and I've said this before, and I will continue to say it again, looks more like Jesus than any image of Jesus that is ever produced in any church in the West right now. This is no less accurate historically a Jesus than Jim Caviezel in The Passion of the Christ.
Look, we don't know if Trump made this image. It's an interesting thought exercise to wonder what he typed into AI to get this result. He's now deleted it. He said he thought it made him look like a doctor, not Jesus, despite the very clear Jesus vibes.
To be honest, whether it's doctor or Jesus, neither career option seems particularly likely for Donald Trump. So this is a good point to bring in our guest, Tommy Vietor, from our much older, much more respectable sibling podcasts, PodSave America and PodSave the World. Tommy, it's great to have you back on PodSave the UK, and it's even better to be seeing you in person.
Lovely to see you in person, Coco on the screen. It's great to see you too, Coco.
Regardless of the circumstances.
It's always terrible when we talk, but it's always fun to get to do it.
So let's just give some background to the image. So we've all seen it, right? It's Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. He claims he's just a doctor. It does look quite Christ-like.
No, healthcare provider.
Is that what the healthcare's like in the States? Because I've not experienced it. This man in a red cape really just touched you on the head.
No, that's the for-profit system. You guys aren't used to it. A man in a red cape descends from above, and there's like commandos behind him. One of them looks like Shredder from Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you pay for, really, because it's the healthcare and the theatre. So the image seems to have been posted after Trump got into a war of words with Pope Leo, because during his first Easter Mass, he called for global leaders to choose peace. Trump hit back at the religious sermon, saying the Pope is, and I quote, weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy.
We don't want a Pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime.
I was not aware that it was the Pope's job to stop crime.
Grab a gun, Pope Leo. Get a badge, buddy. I find it so funny. I'm sorry. I'm not Catholic. I'd find this hilarious.
The Catholic Church is now too liberal for Donald Trump. Yeah. The Catholic Church is too woke. And I will say, historically, we've not tended to look to the papacy for foreign policy doctrine or policy on crime. There's one crime we'd have all loved previous popes to stamp out. I don't think we need to elaborate any further. We can just all watch the movie Spotlight. But there is definitely one crime we'd have liked popes to be a bit harder on. But what the fuck is happening, man?
Yeah, this was a real...
I don't even know how to phrase the question.
No, I know.
Is this a good political move, a bad political move?
Trump walked this back. And I think, you can count on one hand the number of times he's done that. He's deleted the image. Sure. So I think he knows that this was a bad move. I mean, first of all, the comments underneath the Truth Social post where he posted this image were like, you are the Antichrist. This is blasphemy. It wasn't like, sir, delete this. It was like, you are evil, sir. You saw major supporters or like kind of like Catholic intellectuals speak out about it. And it came on the heels of him tweeting like, open the fucking straits, you madmen, on Easter Sunday. Yeah. Followed by Praise Allah, which also kind of surprised some people in the Christian community. So I think Trump, in the broader mood music is that a lot of conservatives are mad at him. Yeah. It comes from the Epstein files, comes from the Iran war, and now this. And Pope Leo is an American pope. Like, he's pretty popular among the rank and file. And you're right, like, I'm not Catholic. I don't look to the Catholic Church for moral leadership. But historically, there have been times when they've kind of been leading voices in, calling to an end to communism, or, so there have been times when the U.S. has worked with the Catholic Church on foreign policy. They helped facilitate the talks with Cuba during the Obama administration. Yeah. And so for Trump to just like unload on them, to have his staff summon them to the Pentagon, their ambassador to scream at them, it's crazy. It's all nuts.
Because the Pope didn't say anything too crazy. He just said, peace is good, which feels quite on brand for a Pope. Is this unusual for a president to butt heads like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is unusual for a normal president. I was reminded as I read back into this that Trump had attacked Pope Francis and said something to the effect of, one day you'll wish that, you hadn't attacked us because ISIS is going to go after you because we know you're the number one. It's like some just absolutely insane thing. He's also previously posted an image of himself as the Pope. Yeah. It was AI generated on Truth Social. So it's interesting that this kind of broke people in the conservative Catholic world, but it certainly seems to have.
The New York Times article about this yesterday, the sort of walk back, contains about 4 or 5 details that are just worth briefly touching on. As he received 2 bags of a McDonald's food delivery to the Oval Office on Monday morning, Trump told reporters that he did not catch all the religious imagery. I thought it was me as a doctor. Only the fake news could come up with that. He added, I make people better. So already he's talking about giving medical advice while getting a DoorDash delivery of McDonald's. So that...
Me too. I have your DoorDash order for you, Mr. President.
That's very nice. Look at this. This doesn't look staged, does it?
They're all your favorites.
That's what he said.
Everybody who's had McDonald's delivered knows it's not as good. It's got soggy in the bag.
No,
it's
the fries are gross. The ice melts. Also, this poor DoorDash grandma, I don't know if you saw the clip, when he tried to be like, hey, man, hey, lady, do you think men should play in women's sports? And she was just like, pass. Yeah. I'm good.
Pass. I should be retired. The very fact that I have this job is evidence of the failure of this economic system.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's this dystopian thing. She's like, please, sir, I need to get back to my car to deliver 7 more things in the next hour so I can pee in a bottle and then continue delivering.
It then goes on to say, Mr. Trump did not apologise for either post, just as he did not apologise for threatening to wipe out the Iranian civilization last week. Now, just, I don't wish to split hairs with the New York Times, but those are definitely not equivalent things. Those are 100% not equivalent things.
It is hard to get over the fact that my president threatened genocide.
Yes, that's right. It's even for him, bad.
Yeah, bad. And again, another thing that kind of led people to break with him. I mean, I don't know if you listened to Tucker Carlson had this 45-minute monologue that I think was kicked off by those tweets, by the things he said on Easter Sunday that Tucker found sacrilegious and has led to this broadside from Tucker and a lot of conservatives against Trump that is ongoing.
I can't listen to Tucker it's like looking at an eclipse. Like I have to have the protection of your podcast where you look at clips of Tucker.
I find it riveting. I can't lie.
You are the condom that prevents me from raw dogging Tucker Carlson, Tommy.
Thank you so much.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to move this conversation on. So on to the other side of the slopaganda war. So Iran's been going viral with a series of anti-Trump Lego rap videos. I'm sure that's making your head explode, listeners. So I think we're just going to play you some of it so you get the idea.
America first? Oops. Oh boy, that was the slogan you sold. But Bibi's pulling strings and your vote is getting cold. We're not just fighting for Iran, hear this clear. Your people reached out to us. Yeah, we got the DMs here. If one nation's gonna stand against the Epstein regime's fear, it's us till the last breath. We've been doing it for years.
Wow.
So for the listeners, the visuals of that is a series of scenes showing protests on US streets, and it also has Trump with Israeli leaders and fighters in Iran. Just to be clear, though, all of that is Lego.
Well, how do you feel this new iteration of foreign communiques?
I mean, I imagine you guys, look, we should just be clear. There's a lot of content in those videos that's wildly anti-Semitic, right? And troubling and offensive to a lot of people. As a communications matter, as a piece of propaganda, they're unbelievably effective. I mean, I have normies in my life, friends who don't ever reach out about this stuff, who are like, have you seen these Lego things?
Yeah.
Like, sharing the videos. There was one today about Melania and Jeffrey Epstein that built off the press conference she did a week ago. So they're very topical and timely. And I think they've not only used AI to generate the videos themselves, they're clearly using AI to write the scripts, to write the raps. And I think that's giving them an ability to plug into the kind of memified American cultural zeitgeist in a way that resonates with Americans and apparently is like dominating the propaganda war outside of the United States.
It's fun to sit and talk about Lego videos, even though, as we say, some of the content is very troubling and anti-Semitic. But the kind of serious underlying issue here is that the Strait of Hormuz and its importance to the entire sort of oil supply of the world is something that Donald Trump seems to have not considered at all, right? So
different,
where are we right now in terms of, from an American perspective, where is the kind of American military on how far Trump has overcommitted them?
Yeah, I think there's just no doubt that we have overcommitted to this war generally. I think, I was talking to someone yesterday who looks at approval ratings for Trump, and for literally years, his approval would be at like 43%.
Yeah.
And for the first time in a long time, you're starting to see a consistent, significant downward slope of people saying, not only is this war a bad idea, but you lied to us and this is crazy. And so now we're in a situation where we went from relaxing sanctions on Iran to increase the amount of Iranian oil in the global supply to keep prices down, to blockading the Strait of Hormuz along with Iran to prevent Iranian ships from getting in and out. Whether that will work, how that will work in practice is a bit of a mystery to me. Basically, there's like 15 warships that will prevent these ships from going in and out and board them. But like, will we board Chinese ships? Will we stop them? Will we take them over? Like, who knows? But I think to your opinion point, I think the rest of the world thinks Donald Trump is an arsonist. If you live in like Southeast Asia, maybe you can't drive your car right now. Governments in Africa have furloughed non-essential workers. Farmers can't get access to fertilizer. There could be a food shortage. This is an absolute crisis, and it's getting worse by the day. And there's not like a clear sign of an end game since the talks failed.
From a British perspective, David Lammy has arrived in the US to meet JD Vance again.
That must suck. Poor Lammy. I know Lammy. That's just got to suck.
There's a picture of them together.
Looks like a hostage video.
It really looks like.
It's holding up today's New York Times.
But I'm actually here on a mission from the UK government to extract David Lammy.
With some Lego warriors.
Yeah. I think Starmer still thinks there is a way for him to convince Trump of something. Like, I think Starmer still thinks he has the ear of Trump, and I think Lammy still thinks he has Vance's ear. Are they deluded?
I think so. I'll just be honest. I don't think Donald Trump cares what Keir Starmer thinks. I think he expects him to obey and do what he says, and he might pretend to listen to him in conversations, but then he'll go on, and say some bullshit about, he's no Winston Churchill. We don't need another Neville Chamberlain, right? And so I understand that it's very easy from the cheap seats to take shots at Keir Starmer and say, man up, fight back, because there are real equities. The United States has shown a willingness and an ability to harm allies and partners through tariffs or other means. But things politically couldn't be going much worse for Keir Starmer. No. The war is self-evidently a disaster. If I were him, I would pivot hard, like Mark Carney has up in Canada, to an anti-Trump, anti-U.S. foreign policy narrative and see if that could help me right the ship.
These are conversations you've had in your career. I mean, if you were having them right now with Keir Starmer, a centre-left world leader, as you have done in your life, would you be saying to him, even taking out the kind of humanitarian impulse here, which we shouldn't do, but we always do.
I know.
But even taking out the humanitarian impulse here, just politically, it feels like it would be wise for him to go in the direction of Carney.
Yeah, I just think on policy and on politics, like the right thing to do is the same. There's complete overlap in that Venn diagram.
That almost never happens.
It almost never happens. And so why not give it a whirl? Why not show some toughness and some fight and see if you can make political hay out of it? I mean, interestingly, far-right parties across Europe are saying, no, this is too far to Donald Trump. The AfD, the neo-Nazis over in Germany are like, yo, this war thing is bad news. Giorgia Meloni was criticizing Trump over in Italy about not only the Iran war, but the Jesus imagery.
Yeah.
So what do we...
And the Pope fight as well. I mean, Meloni, I guess, is in an awkward position because obviously she has previously aligned herself with Trump, especially on things like immigration rhetoric. But I guess if you're running Italy, you got to keep the Pope on side.
Got to back that Pope, or else he's going to go to France. We've seen this movie before. We've seen this scroll before. What was it written back in the day?
So back here, Keir Starmer's government has been getting it in the neck. For the latest time now, it's the approach to defence spending. I feel like you can put issues into a hat and just lucky dip. Which is it this week that Keir Starmer's getting it in the neck for? So in an interview with the Financial Times, the former Labour Defence Secretary, Lord Robertson, said that Britain's leaders had shown a corrosive complacency towards defence.
Yeah, we know that NATO member countries have been attacked by Donald Trump for not spending enough. But this time the criticism is coming from someone who knows Britain's military strategy inside out. He's also the author of the UK's recent defence review. Tommy, how do notionally progressive governments navigate conversations about defence when wars are raging? It feels like the military-industrial complex is something we should be politically against. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there is a war on. There are conversations about defence spending. And Robertson became a Labour MP in 1978 and was the Defence Secretary under Tony Blair, and then was NATO Secretary General. He said that Starmer's not willing to make the correct investment in defence. Our defence budget for 2024-25 is between 60 and 66 billion, which is about 2.3% of our GDP. It's predicted to reach 73 billion by 2029. But at the same time, the country's in crisis, and Sam Coates, is the deputy political editor at Sky, has revealed that the Treasury is looking for £3.5 billion of cuts to defence spending at the moment. How do you navigate defence spending at a time where the rest of the country is looking to government to invest and provide services and stimulate the economy because it's people are struggling to pay their bills?
We're having a far more insane version of this same conversation here in the U.S. because the Pentagon budget last year was about $1 trillion in the U.S. Donald Trump has asked
it's always embarrassing to come here and tell you what our defense budget is.
Why don't you go search in the couch over in the Oval Office for your
That's actually the defense budget of Wisconsin.
Yes, which is not a good thing, as you laid out well, I think, in the prompt. But Donald Trump is now asking for a $1.5 trillion defense budget. And there was a Washington Post story about how the military literally couldn't figure out how to spend that much money. Then there's another conversation about whether they might come for a $200 billion supplemental funding request to pay for all the Iran war stuff, missiles and drones and shit we're firing off. And initially the conversation about this for Democrats was framed as if we had time warped back to 2005. And it was like, will Democrats vote for this funding and support the troops? And luckily, I think Democrats had the courage to say, no, that is stupid. Voters want us to spend money on literally anything else besides bombs to drop on schools in Iran or anywhere else in Iran. And so I do think that the no, we should invest here, not there message is very powerful. I do think just on the policy, I mean, it's also coming at a time when the UK is slashing its development budget right after Elon Musk and his, ketamine-addled idiot friends destroyed USAID. So the world is kind of left hanging there. If I were to sort of message how to talk about those investments in in the military, it's like, how are we evolving it to meet the needs of the 2026 and beyond? Because look at Ukraine, right? I mean, they've just evolved their military to an entirely drone-based defensive strategy and have held off the Russians going on 3-4 years now. And it's like, what does that look like for the UK?
And just on a policy basis, how do you navigate this kind of more Mark Carney hardline approach to Trump, like the sort of Claudia Scheinbaum, Mark Carney way of dealing with Trump? And how does that manifest itself in terms of policy? Because obviously the UK is not committed currently in the war, but is allowing its bases to be used for what it calls strictly sort of defensive military operations. Right. Would you, if you were advising Starmer now, would you be advising him to not allow the US to use those UK bases? Just from a policy perspective?
I would, yeah. I do. I mean, I think the Spanish position that this is an unjust, immoral, illegal war is the right one. Repercussions be damned. Now, that might mean the U.S. pulls troops out of Spain and moves them elsewhere in Europe. I think that would be the United States cutting off its nose to spite its face. There will also be, the time frames on actually doing these kinds of things take so long that Donald Trump will probably be long gone before there is any actual movement. But I do, if I were advising Starmer, I would say draw a firm, clear line that people can understand against the war. I think Mark Carney has done a great job rhetorically. It's led him to multiple electoral victories, including over the weekend.
They've won a couple of by-elections, special elections that mean that he's now got a kind of majority.
Yeah, now he can actually govern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sounds great.
Yeah.
Do that.
After the break, more from Tommy. Plus, we'll get into why we haven't felt the full economic pain of the war in Iran yet. Pod Save the UK is brought to you by Aura Frames.
Aura Frames is the answer to every gifting moment.
Listen, when you're trying to buy a gift for a loved one, there's a lot of options and you're panicking. But you could just do what Coco and I have both done, which is get an Aura Frame. It is a fantastic gift. You can upload photos onto it. It has free unlimited storage. You can even preload the photos before it ships. If, like me, the person you're giving that gift to is your parents and they don't know how to use even basic technology and occasionally phone you saying, how do you find Google? These frames can be preloaded with photos. You can personalize your gift. There's a gift box included. So every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box. And you can share your photos with absolutely minimal effort when you download the Aura app, or you can text photos straight to your frame.
Yeah, I think the ease of the interface cannot be overstated enough. It's really simple for every relative that you might have. And of course, who could ever be unhappy with a box that they open and it's your face? What a wonderful gift. What a wonderful gift. Perfect gift every time, I would say. So for a limited time, save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.co.uk to get £25 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. They've been named the top frame by The Independent, and you can use the promo code PSTUK at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.co.uk, promo code PSTUK. Support the show by mentioning us at the checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Pod Save the UK is brought to you by Shopify.
Picture this. It's late at night and you're scrolling through your feeds when all of a sudden you see it. That one thing that you've been looking to buy your whole life. You click on the link, add to cart, maybe even shop around a little more before finally hitting the checkout. And as you're filling in your address, you realize you don't have your bank card anywhere near you. And that's when you see it. The purple pay button that has all of your information saved, making checking out as simple as tapping your screen.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, from household names like Heinz to brands just getting started.
What if people haven't heard about my brand? Shopify helps you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns.
And what if I get stuck? Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support.
See less carts go abandoned and more sales go with Shopify and their Shop Pay button.
Sign up for your £1 per month trial today at shopify.co.uk/podsavethuk.
Go to shopify.co.uk/podsavethuk.
That's shopify.co.uk/podsavethuk.
This week, the Resolution Foundation has been talking about the economic impact of the Iranian war, in particular this blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. It's calculated that the inflation shock we're about to feel will make the average working age household in the UK about £480 worse off this year. Fuel prices are already up and oil prices went above $100 again after Trump announced a blockade this week. And that is a resource that unfortunately impacts everything else. So it's predicted we're going to see British food inflation hit around 10%. And this is after a couple of years of a cost of living crisis.
Now, we all know that the rising cost of living during election periods can have the biggest impact on voters, and we are expecting Labour to be all but wiped out during the May elections. So, Tommy, inflation is the worst news any politician can hear during election time. Is there any saving Starmer? How should he approach this issue?
Yeah, this is devastating. We saw this happen to Joe Biden. I mean, it I think probably made it impossible for him to win, even though the United States handled the post-COVID inflation as well, if not better, than almost every other country. It's still infuriated voters. This is another example, though, where if I were Starmer, I would be loudly arguing against the war full stop, because clearly, like the difference here is COVID was the thing that happened. We all had to react to it. And then there was a bunch of fallout that was challenging to predict. Donald Trump is the one person who made the decision to go to war with Iran. All the consequences were predictable and predicted. And now here we are living through it.
This guy he's human COVID.
Yes, he's fucking wrecking ball through the global economy. And Starmer's options for bringing down inflation in the near term are limited, but his ability to message about why we're living through this problem is very easy. Donald Trump. And so that's the fight I would pick.
We used to get all of our jet fuel from the Middle East, but we've now become the biggest importer of your jet fuel. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. There was a report this week in the Financial Times that exports of oil and gas from the U.S. might go up by a third, which is going to put upward pressure on prices here. Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that it's a global economy. But, meanwhile, these economies in the Gulf are struggling enormously. Economies in Asia, again, they're like running out of fuel. I mean, this is madness.
I go from here to Austin, Texas. I'm hoping we have enough fuel to get me back to London, because I love my time in most of this country. I have no desire to be marooned in Austin, Texas.
No, if I were you, I'd get out of there as fast as I can.
I have no desire to be marooned with Joe Rogan.
No, thanks. And in the U.S., we're kind of dealing with gasoline prices at the pump to fill up cars and diesel prices. But you guys are going to have an entirely separate crisis for natural gas and heating homes. I mean, what happens if this drags on until winter?
Yeah, and I mean, we're not starting from a good position in any case. Look, let's pivot slightly from Iran. So J.D. Vance, it's hard to know what his job is. But presumably for the last few weeks, his job has been, as Trump's sort of envoy. Why Marco Rubio is not doing that and why he is at UFC fights with Donald Trump, again, these are not questions any of us can answer. J.D. Vance seems to have been the kind of delivery system for a lot of Trump's diplomacy. So it is fascinating that in the middle of this huge international crisis, J.D. Vance managed to find time to visit Hungary to campaign for Viktor Orban, who was up for re-election and who also lost.
Badly.
They call it the J.D. Vance curse, right? If he shows up to root for you, then you will lose.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes, it ends really badly.
And he killed the Pope.
People don't talk about that enough.
Allegedly. I think we're covered legally. Allegedly.
Honestly, the list of people that Nish accuses of killing figures. Liz Truss killed the Queen. J.D. Vance killed the Pope.
Come at me, wokeists. Hitler got the vaccine and then killed himself. Let's talk about Vance briefly. He has whatever the reverse of the Midas touch seems to be at the moment. He failed to get a deal with Iran, and now also this thing with Orban. Is there any disquiet in America, even amongst the kind of MAGA base, about J.D. Vance going to Hungary in the middle of a kind of international crisis that we've already discussed is dividing even the kind of hardline Trumpists?
So I think that, unfortunately, the the MAGA world, or at least the sort of MAGA intellectual class, they love Viktor Orban.
Right, yes.
You know, there was a period of time in like 2021 where Tucker Carlson flew over to Budapest, did a week of programming about Orban and living in Hungary, and he'd sort of become a model for other...
And he's been hosting CPAC, this sort of CPAC European event as well, because he's that much of a kind of...
Connects all these, far-right figures. And so he's been seen as sort of a model for the kind of kleptocratic, right-wing populists, wannabe authoritarians. So it's great that he lost. It's very fun that we get to look at the betting market charts and see J.D. Vance's face right at where the lines intersect, where all of a sudden people started thinking Peter Magyar was going to win and Orban was going to lose. Look, there's like two ways I could argue this. It's like, you know what? He's your guy. You got one shot to campaign for him. Why not give it the college try? But I'm more convinced by the fact that people in Hungary are dealing with an affordability crisis too. They know that Trump is directly responsible for it. Having J.D. Vance come over and directly interfere in their politics while also having none of the charm or sense of humor or political skills that his boss has was probably the wrong decision. So it's fun.
Obviously, Orban was terrible for all sorts of reasons. He was very proudly illiberal. We won't get into his relationship with Russia, rolling back LGBTQ rights. But is his successor, Peter Magyar, is he really any better?
I think that we need to allow ourselves to feel joy and take the win. And that Viktor Orban, if Mitt Romney won against Donald Trump, I would genuflect and bow at his feet and say, you know what I mean?
We thank you, our Mormon God.
Yeah, thank you.
Praise Mormon Jesus.
Yeah, if a flaming bag of dog shit won an election against Donald Trump and was my president for 4 years, I would be thrilled. And so you're right. Peter Magyar, he was a member of the Fidesz party. Yeah, he's probably way to the right of everyone listening to this. Frankly, his political views at this moment are not that clear because he kind of obscured them and made the campaign a referendum on Orban. That said, Orban is a terrible human being. He's a kleptocrat. He stole from his own people. He was used by the Chinese to block any criticism of China at the EU. He was used by the Russians to screw over Ukraine. He was used by the Israelis to block any criticism of Israel at the EU. So I think just saying sayonara to that guy, I'll take the win.
It's worth watching news reporting from Hungary. It's not like a lot of voters weren't aware of his limitations as a candidate. John Oliver did a really good piece in Last Week Tonight about it, where they pulled lots of news footage from various news agencies going and speaking to Hungarians who all sort of said a similar thing, which is, we know this guy sucks, right? But we need rid of Orban. The corruption is now so open, and the damage he's doing to relations with the European Union, in service of presumably his sort of paymaster Vladimir Putin, are so catastrophic that right now we just need him gone. So it's not like a lot of the Hungarians being interviewed are going into this blindly thinking this guy is a miracle worker. It's more about, it's voting practically to get rid of a more threatening political leader.
Yeah, you saw a version of this debate with Alexei Navalny in Russia before Putin murdered him. I mean, he's no liberal. He said some horrible things in his past, both offensive and bad on policy. But he would have been, obviously an enormously better outcome if he were president.
Someone who might be sad to see Orban go is failed reform candidate Matt Goodwin. I don't know how much impact Matt Goodwin has made over here, Tommy. He ran in a special election that we had that was won by the Green Party. He has become colloquially known in the United Kingdom as Matt GPT after he released a book that seems to have been largely written by...
Oh, really? I don't know anything about Matt Goodwin.
But also features citations from ChatGPT. He's kind of openly, he's sort of openly been talking about it. Coco and I've talked to plenty of guests on the show who have said, we knew Matt Goodwin, he was kind of a normal guy. Mm-hmm. Then he kind of Jordan Peterson. He essentially sort of pivoted from being a conservative academic. It seems to be quite a calculated financial pivot based on things we've been told.
Got it.
Anyway, the financial pivot has worked because the Good Law Project investigation has found that he allegedly received a salary of €10,000 a month from a Hungarian educational institution funded by Viktor Orban.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he a bigger dipshit than Matt Hancock?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, dipshit is a really interesting descriptor because I would still say there is no shit dippier than Matt Hancock in British politics. He he got caught grabbing an ass on CCTV. Do you know what I mean? Like, Goodwin is kind of one of the sort of, conservative, hard right intellectuals, and I've got the biggest air quotes in human history around that term.
Yeah, but the thing with Goodwin is that he's not unique. So Orban actually had quite a lot of influence here in the UK, funding far right organisations, people, think tanks. Apparently, there was a report by journalist Dan Nolan in Democracy for Sale about the scale of this. So. Well, in the case of Matt Goodwin, he was paid as a visiting fellow at the, I'm going to say this wrong, Matthias Corvinus Collegium, which is a Hungarian government-funded institution. It's been described as Orban's pet university.
The scale of conservative cooperation is fascinating, and it is not that often that we see it laid as bare as this, right? Like you can see how the whole thing links up. You can see why Vance was, interrupting what should have been an incredibly busy, prohibitively busy schedule to go and campaign for Orban. Yeah. How worrying is that?
I think it's quite worrying. It's something Ben and I have talked about a lot. There's no similar infrastructure on the left.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing CPAC. CPAC started, for the listeners in the UK, as this fringe group of insane people that we 20 years ago would all laugh at, like the bar scene from Star Wars. Once a year in DC, you'd make fun of these fucking absolute goobers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, those absolute goobers were the presidents.
Yeah.
It was just like a Trump rally. But over time, CPAC franchised, and you'd see CPAC in Latin America. You'd see CPAC Brazil. There'd be CPAC Hungary. And it became this very effective way to spread this far-right populism. And people for some reason, Liz Truss always comes, and she always, it's funny because like 6 people will watch her speak. But, I think there's been like effective cross-pollination, and that doesn't exist on the progressive side. I would say for the UK in particular, like, it's this Hungarian money, and then also you guys have been dealing with the separate scandal of the Russians paying off a bunch of people, and it's like, you got to lock that shit down. That is troubling.
Well, I mean, for UK listeners who might be interested, we're actually having CPAC UK in July this year.
Lucky you.
And Liz Truss is,
of course,
she is the sort of keynote speaker, I believe. And even Nigel Farage has already said that he's going to be, this is a direct quote from a Reform UK spokesperson, steering well clear of CPAC in July. Like, Liz Truss is such sort of electoral toxin that Farage, I think probably rightly, is aware that he should limit his alignment with her. So that might be a problem for CPAC actually having, a real impact in the UK, because Nigel Farage is still the most effective delivery system for those ideas. For sure. But he's decided that this is too much even for him. For legal reasons, we have to clarify that whilst Matt Goodwin himself has not responded to the Good Laws Project claims, a Reform spokesperson denied that the MCC paid him €10,000 a month. They also added this: it is standard for academics to hold fellowship positions at other institutions around the world. Tommy, as ever, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast talking to you guys. I hope I didn't create any legal problems. If you're listening to this and wondering what I'm talking about, it's because we cut a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we cut a lot of stuff. If you did create any legal problems, as I say, I'm pretty sure you're my boss.
Yeah, you got a P.O. box. Slide that summons over.
If you want to listen to more from Tommy and Trump, Iran, and bizarre Pope memes, make sure you head over to Pod Save America and Pod Save the World.
After the break, could we be witnessing the end of your party, or at least part of it? It's all kicking off in Scotland, and a closer look at private firms profiting from the NHS. This podcast is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe.
When it comes to sending money abroad, many providers claim to offer free fees and competitive rates. But don't be fooled. This can be code for inflated exchange rates.
With the Wise account, you can send, spend, and receive money in over 40 currencies without ever having to worry about hidden fees.
Sending pounds across the pond, most transfers arrive in 20 seconds or less.
Spending Riash in Rio, the Wise travel card gives you the mid-market rate on every purchase, so no costly markups on your bill.
Getting paid in dollars for your side gig? Avoid hidden fees and get the real exchange rate every time.
With 24/7 access to live support, your international transactions with Wise are quick, transparent, and safe. Plus, Wise runs over 7 million daily checks to catch and prevent fraud.
15 million people already trust Wise to manage their money internationally. Be smart, get Wise. We've got family that live abroad. It can be complicated trying to send money to them. It's a process that is fiendishly difficult unless you have someone like Wise helping smooth that transition.
And increasingly, sending money internationally is just normal. It happens so often, either through personal life or through work life. So it's really something to take a look at and see if you can improve your financial situation this way. So download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Terms and conditions apply. Now, look, we shouldn't laugh because for many, the creation of your party represented hope. We were hopeful about it as well, particularly at a time when politics was so depressing. There was something quite magical about the whole thing. But at this point, it really is you either laugh or you cry. Because on Monday, the National reported that all 12 of the executive committee for Your Party Scotland had now resigned. And the Scottish Party itself, it's declared itself over.
According to the group, the mass resignation came after complaints the UK leadership had sidelined Scotland. It appears they were prevented from contacting members and even standing candidates in the Scottish Parliament elections. Owen Maitland, one of the Your Party Scotland committee members who resigned, sent us this video to help explain the fallout.
I resigned yesterday afternoon along with the rest of my colleagues because it had become clear to us, and I think clear to many other people, that the party was effectively dead. What's basically happened over the last month is the party headquarters have completely ignored us. They've ignored every attempt that we've made to try and actually enact the democratically agreed decisions of the party conference. After a month of no contact, HQ sent us a very threadbare proposal which we were instructed not to share, which had no detailed plan for democratic candidates elections and no detailed plan for how the campaign would run, and made no mention of an SEC election at all. All of this came just 2 weeks out from the deadline for candidate nominations for the Scottish elections. The Greens aren't the kind of viable option for Scotland that they are in England and Wales. Different leadership, different policies, and they've pretty much been part of the government in some form or another for most of the last decade. We're in a scenario now where, in all likelihood, Reform are going to be the second biggest party in the Scottish Parliament. We need to have a new party, the Scottish Left, which is built and run by Scottish activists, not controlled by a secretive cabal down in London.
Yeah, thank you so much to Owen for sending that in. I mean, Coco, this is a fucking shit show.
It really is.
Even in the context of your party, this is a huge fucking shit show. So according to the New World, your party is now not standing a single candidate in the Scottish and Welsh parliamentary elections next month, nor for the 4,850 local council elections in England. And again, Owen kind of brilliantly covers everything that's pertinent here, which is that, there are a lot of left-wing people in Scotland that don't see the Scottish Greens as a viable alternative. So, I mean, there is clearly an opportunity here, but I mean, what can you say? What more can you say about this absolute catastrophe?
I'm really mindful that your party was trying to do something quite groundbreaking. I myself have never set up a political party. I'm sure it is difficult. I'm sure there are challenges, and one could argue that these are just teething problems, but we just happen to know about it all because of social media. Maybe that's being generous, I don't know. But nonetheless, the thing I can't move away from is knowing that if it doesn't succeed, not just your party, but just in general, the progressives, if we don't succeed, what is around the corner? Owen outlined it himself, Reform, right? That's really, really scary. I mean, even earlier today in this episode, we talked to Tommy and he was talking about CPAC in different parts of the world. You just can't imagine that, can you? You can't imagine there being I don't even know what it would be called, but some progressive conference all around the world where we trade insights, where we work together, where we collaborate. Opportunity miss is putting it politely.
In response to the resignations, your party said it was fully committed to the autonomy of the party in Scotland and said that it would continue to put in place clear, fair and workable structures that serve all members in Scotland. How that's going to happen at the moment is not clear to me in any way, shape or form.
So from one shit show to another, I suppose, the NHS. So it's a point of national pride. Of course, it is. I'm sure anyone listening to this show knows how much we really worry about it. But just how public is the NHS these days? So this week, it was revealed that private firms have made £1.6 billion in profits over the last 2 years. That's according to the Centre of Health and Public Interest Analysis of NHS Contracts in England.
The think tank found that £2 billion of the £12 billion worth of contracts went to firms with owners based outside the UK. 533 million of that 2 billion went to companies owned by people living in tax havens such as Jersey and the Cayman Islands, and firms, especially those owned by private equity outfits, used 353 million pounds of their 12 billion pounds worth of NHS income to pay interest on debts.
Now, just to put this into context, according to the think tank, this £1.6 billion would have been enough to pay more than 9,000 doctors or 19,000 nurses during that time. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has said that he won't shrink from opening the NHS to the private sector. But with such large profit margins, it's hard not to come to the conclusion that the NHS is being taken for a big old ride.
Now, understandably, this has upset quite a lot of Labour MPs. Stella Creasy said it's frankly scandalous and called for an urgent cap on this rent-seeking and profiteering and total transparency on where this money ends up. And it's really worth pointing out here that the government has already capped profits that drug and defence firms that win public sector contracts can make. And it begs the question, why are they not doing the same here? So David Rowland, who's the director of the think tank called the Centre of Health and Public Interest, is now urging ministers to bring in a cap modelled on the 8% limits the government is legislating to introduce for children's social care providers after similar concerns were raised there.
Sorry, I just had to take a moment to reflect on the sentence you said. Children's social care providers. Wow, that's quite horrifying, isn't it?
We're constantly told that the private sector's involvement in the public sector brings in a financial efficiency, but it feels like it's the same story here with the water companies. We're seeing huge hemorrhaging of money that could be better spent in the sectors that these companies are supposed to be delivering services and goods into. It's getting increasingly to be a completely indefensible position just from a perspective of financial efficacy. So look, we do have to read a right to reply here. So the Department of Health and Social Care has defended the NHS's use of private firms. A spokesperson said the independent sector has a role to play in tackling the waiting list backlog and building a more sustainable health system. However, in working with independent providers, we will neither tolerate gaming the national payment tariff to cherry-pick the simplest, most profitable cases, nor any quality shortcomings. And that rhetoric is welcome, but it has to be backed by substantive policy changes. And this profit cap does feel like a very quick, sensible thing the government could do and should be doing. Another controversial NHS contract that's been making the headlines is with Palantir, which is the US tech firm that was co-founded by Peter Thiel. Now, as we previously discussed on the show, Palantir's technology has been used here in America by ICE to track down migrants and by the Israeli military as they commit genocide against Palestinians in occupied Gaza.
Despite this frankly egregious record, NHS England awarded Palantir a £330 million contract in 2023 to provide a new data platform. Speaking on Politics Live on Monday, Director of Tax Justice UK and former Labour candidate Faiza Shaheen made this point directly to the UK head of Palantir.
Palantir has such a key role in helping Israel kill children in Palestine and Lebanon. That has to be aligned, surely. And what does a company that is so involved in how to kill children with Israel and how to deport children from the US have an interest in the NHS and in our data?
It's a very fair question, and it's one that's worth asking. It's also worth noting that the person that Faiza was speaking to in that clip from BBC News is the head of Palantir in the UK, Louis Mosley. Now, you might hear that surname and feel an uncomfortable tension building in the base of your spine. It's not a coincidence. He is Oswald Mosley's grandson, as in Oswald Mosley, the head of the British Union of Fascists. If I was his grandson, I'd be well out of the public eye.
When I was watching that clip then, obviously I was thinking about the substance of Faiza Shaheen's points and how great they were. Now I'm thinking, what colour shirt was he wearing?
Yeah, you certainly want to be avoiding black shirts where possible if your surname is Mosley. For the sort of nerd community listening to this, who will be absolutely screaming at us to at least reference this once, in The Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a seeing stone that can be used to distort truth and present selective visions of reality. Once again, as always with these tech companies, they are signposting how dreadful they are. They are absolutely signposting how dreadful they are. They are picking things from science fiction and fantasy that are signposting the fact that these people are villains. I look forward to an NHS contract being awarded to Sauron Tech in collaboration with the global company Darth Vader Industries.
Wow, I'm so excited for the Eye of Sauron to take on optical care. I'm really excited for this. You ever seen that meme of the goose chasing the man? You seen that?
No.
It's basically, it's like a line drawing of a man being chased by a goose.
Yeah.
And the goose is saying some sort of truth, right? The Thames Water story really upset me. And I think one of the reasons it really upset me is because obviously water is finite. This idea of putting competition into water is ridiculous. It's a natural monopoly. NHS is our main healthcare provider. And so anyway, this is a long way of saying that goose follows me around about the public sector. There's a goose going off all the time in my head saying, we do not need competition in this space. Anyway, that's a tangent, but I just want you to know, yeah, there's Lord of the Rings as a reference, but also what about that goose on the internet? He's important for law. I think we should be discussing him.
When we spoke to Stuart Lee, the comedian on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, he was questioning about how TV shows are engaging with the concept of political satire and was encouraging people to go after for these kind of systemic things. It's a great interview and worth going back to listen to if you haven't or watch it on YouTube. He definitely got his wish this week because Saturday Night Live UK had the following sketch, which we are going to play in for you now.
It's insane. Giving the keys to our health system to Palantir, a sinister military contractor with links to the CIA, which makes billions profiting from targeting systems for drone strikes, is such a great idea. I love Palantir.
For listeners, as Paddy Young, who is one of the anchors with Andy Magliano of Weekend Update, was speaking about Palantir, laser gun sights started appearing on his chest.
So the contract is a divisive issue within NHS England. This week, the Financial Times reported that NHS staff have been told that they might lose their jobs if they raise concerns about Palantir's data platform.
But due to the public pressure that's already been building, MPs are planning to debate Palantir's NHS contract this Thursday. So that's Thursday, the 16th of April. You can email your MP and ask them to attend and raise concerns on your behalf. I will certainly be doing that. And we're going to put a link in the show notes for how you can do that.
Do you think someone from Saturday Night Live is listening to our podcast?
I doubt it.
Okay.
It's quite an intense production schedule. From what I understand, from my friends that work on that show. They don't have time to listen to us gassing onto Grandad about comedy.
Okay. You just said you had friends on the show. So maybe they are. I mean, I like the idea that maybe we've contributed to a little moment, a cultural moment.
They are so stressed to try and get the show made every week. I imagine if they're consuming any culture, it's just like soothing ASMR videos. And that's all for Pod Save the UK this week. Thank you so much to Tommy Vietor for joining us.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so you can join us in laughing at the truly terrible.